So I've continually mentioned that I don't think college football is broken like many others do with the NIL transfer portal, coaching salaries, free agency, NIL demands of millions of dollars before you played a snap. I don't relate to that thought process. But I do think there are a couple of areas that could be improved. And it was really reinforced today that there were back-to-back tweets in my timeline that was like, okay, yeah, this is a problem. And is it – I don't even think it's unfair. I was going to say, is it unfair to have this thought? No, I don't think so. There were back-to-back tweets of Cam McCormick is a tight end at the University of Miami. And he is coming back in 2024 for his 9th college football season. His 9th college football season. That the idea, one, that isn't even a sentence somebody can say. That you are in your 9th college football season. That this guy was in the same recruiting class as Nick Bosa and Jalen Hurts. Is still playing college football. Come on now. I understand he battled injuries in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. Okay, that still leaves 2022, 2023. You get the picture. I was in full agreement with the NCAA on the COVID year that if you were that it shouldn't count towards a year. It shouldn't have. Some schools played, some schools didn't. Some schools played 9 games, some schools played 10 games, some schools played 5 games. It shouldn't have counted. However, I don't think that should then mean that you're like a couple of months away from getting like the veteran minimum at the end, like getting your pension for the rest of your career. If you had 4 years of injured seasons, I feel sorry for you. I think that sucks, and I hate it for you. It stinks. I feel really, really bad if you underwent that. At the same time, you're in your 9th college football season, and you're taking away a spot from somebody who is legitimately only going to get to play 5 college football seasons if they are lucky. If they're unlucky, 6 college football seasons. And you're going to come into year 9. Don't love it. Michigan quarterback Jack Tuttle is seeking his 7th year of eligibility. Jack Tuttle was Chris Olave's high school quarterback. And Chris Olave's been in the NFL for it's just the idea that you're on year 7 or year 9, or Talia Tagovailoa was petitioning for another year of college. Like, it's some, and I get it. I wholly understand the idea, the thought process of this is going to be the end, for the most part, of my football journey. If Cam McCormick had an NFL future, he wouldn't be playing year number 9, the longest college football career in history. If Jack Tuttle had an NFL future, he wouldn't be seeking a 7th year of eligibility. If Talia Tagovailoa had an NFL future, he wouldn't be clamoring for a way to find a final year of college football eligibility. It just wouldn't happen. So I understand the thought process. I understand the want, the will, the desire to continue to play college football. But at the same time, you've had your fun. You've had your run. It's time for somebody else to have that chance. Because if these 2 guys come back, that's conceivably, and I realize that it's not a ton, but that's 2 other players who don't get to have a Division I experience, at least in 2024. When you have had, in one case, damn near a decade of Division I experience, where Cam McCormick spent 7 seasons at Oregon. 7 seasons at Oregon, which is already more than you should get, in my opinion. I think COVID throws everything off, but At most, you should be able to play college football for a 6th year if you had, 2 years where you could get a medical red shirt. Or if you had a red shirt, 2 years you're injured, we'll get you a medical red shirt so you can have a 6th year. But a 7th year and a 9th year of college football is where I feel like we can all draw the line, right? Now, is that fair to the compensation that Jack Tuttle and Cam McCormick can make in NIL and all of those things? No, it's not. But you have had your opportunity. You got your chance. You got to do whatever it is you wanted to do. 6 years, 7 years, whatever the case may be. Don't you think that's enough? Don't you think like, okay, that you've had your chance? Because eventually you're just taking an opportunity, you're taking reps away, you're taking development away from somebody who might have an NFL future or who might be able to use a full ride scholarship to go to college, who might need a full ride scholarship to go to college. So I do have some sympathy that you had 4 seasons taken from you by injuries. That also might just be the big guy upstairs way of telling you, like, hey, this ain't for you, buddy. And it's time to find a new avenue rather than saying, you know what, I'm going to play a 9th season. Because if you're going to play a 9th season of college football, you should probably be coming out of that with, should you have 2 master's degrees at that point? Like, should you have a bachelor's and 2 masters? And if that's the case, like, cool, that's awesome. Like, if you are going to leave college after your 9th season of eligibility with, major in something that you just were interested in, then an MBA and like pre-med or something, cool, that's great for you. But I doubt that that's the case. But, and maybe that's the requirement is if, if you are going to have a 6th year or a 7th year, you should already have had, you need to have accomplished a master's degree by now. Maybe that's the NCAA requirement. I don't know. But I do know that guys playing their 7th and 9th year is too far. Like earlier in the season, I kind of bitched at Luke Fickell, who talked about this same issue that, hey, guys are playing into their 7th season. That's not what college football is about. I was like, bro, your quarterback's 25. Shut up. But if your quarterback's 25, if you're going for your 7th year, I think that's where you draw the line. Again, this is special circumstances, but I think somebody needs to just eventually say, like, hey, listen, buddy, like, you're not going to get a 7th year of college football. That's not fair to really a whole lot of people other than you. So we're just going to cut it off. Like, just make it last call, like final night of the bar, right? Like, just, hey, like, you're done. We're cutting you off. That's it. And I think that COVID year should count. I think it should matter at the time. And I think it was the right decision, whether that jacked up rosters in even non-football sports for a really long time. I read stories about, a volleyball team went to the Final Four and were dumping out a bunch of players. And they were like, listen, I don't have room for you anymore. Like, we had planned to give all of these new players scholarships. We had planned on implementing all of these new players into our scheme, into our team, and you had your run. And if you can go off somewhere else and have a second act is a great career, best of luck to you. I'm going to love you forever, but I don't have room for you anymore. Does that suck? Yeah. But it's just the byproduct of being in a crappy situation. But having a 7th year and a 9th year, I think, is just kind of taking advantage of a situation where, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe if I was in that situation of like, okay, I could play a 9th year of college football or a 7th year of college football instead of facing the real world, maybe I should be encouraging kids to avoid the real world for as long as possible. Stay here. Stay as long as you can. I don't know. But I do know that it feels like a bit much. Like, and again, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. If I was going to play my 9th college football season, I would feel somewhat embarrassed that, like, how you still doing that? And don't you have anything better to do? I realize college football is fun and you want to milk that for as long as you can. But when that milking that as long as you can is coming up on like longer than somebody can be the president of the United States, okay, might have been doing that a little bit too long. So I think that could be fixed. But I still don't think college football is broken. I do think that playing for 7 years and 9 years is where I think most people, and maybe the overwhelming majority of people, can agree that, like, hey, you know what, that might be where we can all get on board together and say, this is too long, this is too much. And I don't think you're going to find a ton of people who are going to support your 9th year of college football. Now, I do think, like, if, for instance, like, if there was an NAIA, like, I guess there is an NAIA, but like if NAIA were to say, like, hey, your college football eligibility doesn't expire until you are like literally being paid by an NFL, USFL, or XFL, whatever, the UFL, indoor football, whatever the case may be, you still have eligibility. So if somebody like, and I think there would be some guys that would take up on that, right? Like you'd get some NIL money, not a ton, but if you just want to keep going to school and keep playing football until you're 28 years old, and you know, like if Johnny Manziel wanted to, I mean, Johnny Manziel couldn't because he was in this situation, was drafted in the NFL, but if somebody goes undrafted that was, you know, a college legend or whatever and still wanted to play college football and they go to some NAIA school, that would be a great way for NAIA football to get a little pub, to get a little notoriety that, hey, this guy who used to play at Florida or Alabama or Ohio State or whoever is now playing at Siena Heights. I think it'd be a good way to keep guys to keep playing college football. But at this upper echelons, at the creme de la creme Power 5 level, if you're on year 9 and 7, I think it's time to move on. And I don't think that's unfair to say. That's just my thoughts. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. We'll be back at it on Sunday with an all-new episode. If you're watching here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all that great college football content we're pumping out here on Saturday Glory. If you are listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. Appreciate it. See you on Sunday here on the Daily Huddle with Saturday Glory.